Ralph Hord, who's the other U.S. Commissioner, along with Philip Westinghoff. Philip is unable to get off St. Paul Island the last couple of days, so he'll be watching on the webinar, and we miss his presence here, but he'll catch up. I'm Jim Balsiger. I'm the U.S. Commissioner for the Halibut Commission. On the Canadian side, we have Gary Robinson, who's been around for some time. Dr. Laura Richards and Rebecca Reed are changing positions at some undetermined date. So Laura is still the commissioner, I believe. Rebecca will be commissioner in all likelihood by the annual meeting. So we're glad that she's here at the interim meeting to be able to carry on. So Bruce, unless you have any announcements or anything else, then how about the Canadians? Laura, any points to make?
No, thank you.
If not, it's 1 o'clock, so let's start the webinar, Bruce, as you intended to go through it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Welcome all the folks on the webinar. We'll start right off having Heather Gilroy do a review of the 2011 fisheries.
Good afternoon. I'm going to be reviewing the 2011 commercial sport and subsistence fisheries. Greg and I put this presentation together. The numbers are from IPHC and from different state and federal agencies. And the numbers were put together on November 14th and have remained the same. So there has been some adjustments. If you look on the web for different catches, but these are the numbers we're going to be using in the stock assessment. Page. No. To start with, I'll start in the south with areas where we have a total catch limit that has multiple user groups. In Area 2A, which is Washington, Oregon, and California, the catch limit set by the Commission is for sport, commercial, and treaty Indian users. There's an allocation by the Pacific Fisheries Management Council, which allocates between these users by a catch sharing plan. In 2011, the total catch was 4% over the total catch limit, and the catch limit was 0.91 million pounds in 2011. In Area 2B, or BC, the Commission sets a catch limit for sport and commercial users, and there's an allocation program done by the Canadian Department of Fisheries and Open Oceans that allocates 12% to the sport fishery and 88% to the commercial fishery. In addition to that, there's adjustments made by DFO with a commercial underage overage program. Quotas held for the First Nations, and in 2011 there was an experimental leasing program. And in the end, the catch was just slightly over the total catch limit, and the catch limit was 7.65 million pounds. Moving on to talk about the commercial fisheries in Area 2A. In 2A, we have a directed fishery, which takes place south of Point Chehalis. And in 2011, we had 2 10-hour fishing periods with fishing period limits. That's not that unusual. Generally, there's 2 to 6 fishing periods, although in 2010, there was only 1. In the end, the catch was 5% over the catch limit. Also in 2A, there's an incidental halibut commercial fishery, which takes place during the salmon troll season. And this fishery started on May 1st, and we closed it on May 28th. The ratio, the restriction was 1 halibut to 3 Chinook, plus an extra halibut, plus a maximum of 35 per trip. And we closed it on May 28th, as we thought the catch limit was taken. After the landings were reevaluated, we found out that there was 2,600 pounds remaining. So it was reopened on July 29th. And it closed on October 31st at the end of the salmon season. And during the second opening, there was more restrictions. There was 1 halibut allowed per 7 days, and at least in Oregon, they had a requirement of a call-in to report catch. And in the end, the catch was 8% under the catch limit. The last commercial fishery in the area was the Treaty Indian commercial fishery. And in this fishery, there's open access fisheries, and there's also a restricted fishery where the vessel is restricted to 500 pounds per vessel per trip. And the seasons were quite short this year, and the catch was 12% over the catch limit. Moving on to the quota share fisheries. talking about Area 2B, or British Columbia. To explain this graphic, basically this is where the catch stands relative to the catch limit, and where the catch stands relative to the adjusted catch limit. And the adjusted catch limit, the catch limit is set by the Commission, and the adjusted catch limit includes the underage overage programs in each country. So in Area 2B this year we were 3% under the commercial catch limit and the adjusted catch limit. And this is not as close as it was in 2010. In 2C, we were slightly above the catch limit and within 5% of the adjusted catch limit. And the catch limit was quite similar in 2010, the catch relative to the catch limit. In 3A, we were just under the catch limit and 3% under the adjusted catch limit, and we were very similar to 2010. And lastly, in 3B, we were 4% under or 6% under the adjusted catch limit, and we weren't as close as we were in 2010. Moving up to the Aleutian Islands and the Bering Sea areas, in 4A, we were 6% under the catch limit or 8% under the adjusted catch limit. In 4B, we were 8% under the catch limit and 11% under the adjusted catch limit. And this one's notable because last year, this is quite a bit closer, the catch was quite a bit closer to the catch limit than it was in last year. Last year was 17% under. And for CDE, we look at it as one area, although there is a catch sharing plan that divides the catch into 4C, 4D, and 4E. But if you combine them, we were within 3% for the catch limit and 6% for the adjusted catch limit. Moving on to the sport fishery, in 2011, the sport fishery was 7.5 million pounds. This is a decrease of about 4% from 2010. And this is under, in 2004 to 2008, the amount is about 10 million pounds. But this 7.5 million pounds is similar to what was occurring in the mid-1990s. For all areas, and I'll be talking about each area separately, but for all areas we were slightly higher with the exception of area 2C. So looking at each area individually, in most areas we're 3 to 6% change from last year. So this lists 2011 catch, and with the percent change from 2010. Most areas were within 3 to 6% difference or over. With the exception of 4, we were 12% over, but recognize area 4, the catch, there's not a lot of sport fishing that goes on, and the catch is anywhere from 16,000 to 50,000 in the last 7 or 8 years. The one notable change is in area 2C, where the commercial catch was 1.3 million pounds, and this is a 33% change from 2010. Sport catch. Did I say commercial? Sport catch.
But that's the actual sports catch in 2C was 1.3 million?
Yes. That was a guided and unguided, and I have more of the breakdowns. Starting in area 2A, as I mentioned, there is a catch sharing plan, and with the catch sharing plan, the 2A is divided into 6 sub-areas. In area 2A, we have catch estimation, in-season catch estimation and management, and the fishery, the sport fishery is really dependent on what's going on in other sport fishing opportunities, particularly salmon and tuna. And what we saw in most areas, the fisheries proceeded as they had in the past, with one exception. The most southern area, the southern Oregon-California border, there was successful fishing there. They caught just about twice as much as they had the previous year, but because there wasn't in-season management in that area, then the catch did exceed the allocation for that area. But the overall sport catch in area 2A was 1.5% under the overall allocation. In area 2B, there's some things that occur, some DFO management actions that occur. In 2011, the 2010 overage was not deducted from the 2011 allocation, where in 2010, the 2009 underage had been carried over. As I mentioned previously, there was a experimental lease program, which was new in 2011. It allowed the sports sector to lease commercial quota. there was an online application program, and 4,000 pounds were leased from the sport fishery to the commercial fishery, although very few pounds were taken. And there was some management actions to keep the catch, to try to keep the catch within an allocation. And there was a 1 fish daily bag limit, and the season was the shortest it has been. It started on March 1st and closed on September 5th. In the end, the allocation was 0.947 million pounds, and the catch was 28% above that allocation. Yes?
Of that 4,000 pounds that was leased from the commercial to the sports sector and was left in the water, is that allowed to, is that allowed to be carried over?
My understanding is, and correct me, somebody from DFO, if I'm not correct, I thought about over 200 pounds was actually caught, and they have till the end of the commercial fishery to catch it. And the sport fishery closed on September 5th, but this experimental program allows sport fishers to fish that commercial quota past September 5th, and at one point it moves back to the commercial fishery. Anybody else around?
Do you know, Rebecca, what that the framework
Is that correct?
for when that goes back?
No, I don't know offhand. And when is the data collected? What was the date of the numbers?
We produced these on November 14th, so you know, they could have been updated, but we that's what the numbers were on November 14th. Is that Ann?
Yeah.
So my understanding is they can still catch after that's why there was incentive for the sport fishery to get commercial quota, because they could catch it after the September 5th opening. Okay, moving on to Alaska, starting in Southeast Alaska or Area 2C. We've broken it down by guided fishery and unguided fishery because the management measures are different for both. In the guided fishery, it is managed to a guideline harvest level, or a GHL, and this GHL is set by the North Pacific Fisheries Management Council. The management measures put into place to try to keep the catch within the GHL were a 1 fish daily bag limit, a maximum length for the fish of 37 inches, no allowance for skipper or crew fish, and line limit, so each angler was allowed 1 line. And the results from this year's fishery was the mean weight decreased to 9.4 pounds, and that's a change from a 26 average pound or mean weight in 2010. And the number of fish were similar this year to last year, with about 41,000 fish caught. The unguided fishery, there isn't a management program to keep within a level, so there is a 2 fish daily bag limit. There are no size restrictions or no limit on skipper or crew fish. The mean weight stayed similar between 2010 and 2011 at 16.7 pounds, and the number of fish caught did increase by 6.5%. Moving on to Area 3A, there is a management program in place for the guided fishery, which there is a similar GHL or guideline harvest level that the fishery is managed to, but because the expectation was the catch was not going to reach this guideline harvest level, there were no specific or additional restrictions on this fishery. So for all of 3A, there was a 2 fish daily bag limit, and there was no limit on the size of fish or no limit to crew or skipper or crew fish. In the end, the overall mean was 14.2 pounds for the whole fishery, and that was similar to the previous year. And the number of fish did increase by 6.3%, and the total number of fish was about 320,000 fish. This graphic shows you what the guideline harvest level was for the last year's and what the catch was for both Area 2C and 3A. And just looking at 2011, the guideline harvest level for 2C was 0.788 million pounds, and the overall catch for the sport charter fishery was 0.388 million pounds, so they were 51% under the guideline harvest level. And in 3A, the guideline harvest level was 3.65 million pounds, and the catch was 2.8, so 22% under. This shows you in Area 2C what it has been since, what the guideline harvest level has been since 2003 and where the catch has been. And so essentially in the last 9 years, this was the first time that the catch was under the guideline harvest level. And in 3A, in the last 9 years, there was only 1 year where the guideline harvest level was above the catch was above the guideline harvest level, and that was in 2007. And it's been under in the last 4 years. And the last fishery I'll just briefly talk about is the subsistence fishery. These are a mix of numbers between 2010 and 2011 because we do get a lag of numbers from the Alaska fishery. So the coast-wide number is 1.2 million pounds for 2010, which is a decrease from the 2009 estimate of 1.3 million pounds. In Area 2A, as I've mentioned previously, it is part of a catch sharing plan, and this is for the tribal ceremony on subsistence fishery, and this is the number that is in the catch sharing plan, and we will get an update in December. In Area 2B, the number is for the First Nations fishery. It's provided to us by Department of Fisheries and Oceans, and we've had the same number since 2007 of 405,000 pounds. In Alaska, the numbers are provided to us by ADF&G. They do a survey. They do have a mail-out survey with community visits, and the number has been decreasing since 2004, and in 2010 the estimation is 807,000 pounds. In addition to the ADF&G number, IPHC regulations allows for the CDQ fishers and 4D and 4E to retain sublegal fish or U32 fish, and this is included in these numbers. That's it for the 2011 fishery summary.
So Heather, one thing I think might be really useful is to have some kind of table that has sort of the total catch on it relative to, say, the total CUI.
Yes, and we were going to prepare that for the annual meeting. If you look at your briefing book, we do have the totals. We don't have that, but we do have totals for
I saw some
areas.
of the totals for areas 2A and 2B, but I couldn't find it for the other areas.
That's a commercial catch. No, we hadn't prepared that for now, but we were planning on preparing that for the annual meeting.
Yeah, okay, I think that would be useful. I'm just trying to get I appreciate the pieces, but when you're seeing all these pieces, it's sometimes hard to, in your head, see how those pieces go together. And we're not really interested in the allocation of sectors. I'm interested in the overall resource. So
yeah,
it'd be useful for us to try to see the big picture.
And that was the plan.
Yes.
Okay.
I see none. Thanks, Heather.